If you know me at all, or you've been around the Kindergarten Connection, or you're in the Print and Play Club, or you've taken the Play course, you know how passionate we are about playful learning and developmentally appropriate classrooms, because when those things are in place, we have less classroom management struggles, and we're all about having less management struggles. This doesn't mean it's perfect. This doesn't mean behaviors never pop up. Of course they do. But when we're set up to be ahead of those things, it just makes the whole year a lot smoother. But in today's episode, we're going to talk about what are some strategies and tools that we can use to create a playful classroom, especially if you're in a situation where you feel like it's not supported, or you feel like, but I'm not even allowed to play. Like they're telling me I need to be on this page of the curriculum at this time, and I'm feeling really rushed, and there's a lot of academic pressure. And we know play and academics don't have to be separate, but sometimes the powers that be, or the people in charge of coming around and making sure we're checking their boxes, they don't get that. And so it becomes this really hard line to walk, if you will, and it's a hard thing to navigate. And that is why, even though I am so passionate about play and learning through play, I also want to help teachers who feel like they're not allowed to do this in the way they would like to. I want to help you find a happy medium, because while it would be best if we could go all in on play, the reality is that's hard sometimes for us to have the supplies, the materials, the permissions, the things that maybe we need to do. And what I don't want to see is, I don't want teachers to say, well, I can't, so forget it, and then do nothing. I firmly believe a little bit is always better than nothing, because it inches us closer and closer to the goal. And when admin and other people in districts and parents and people see the results that we get, it allows us to get closer and closer to that goal of more developmentally appropriate learning and developmentally appropriate classrooms. But we have to start somewhere. And as I said before, the reality is, for some of us, we can't just be like, I'm going to scrap all of the curriculum this year. That's probably not going to happen, probably not going to work. So my job and my role and with helping you is to see, okay, how can we make these things work together? What framework can we use? What strategies can we use so that your classroom is a place you want to be? It feels playful, it feels fun, but you're also navigating things within your school and district as you need to, right? Because sometimes that's just how it is. And doesn't mean that we love it. Doesn't mean we don't still actively work to change it. But what are we doing in the meantime? So let's talk about it. So if you have ever felt torn between, I want this type of classroom, but there's just so much pressure to get all these things done, this episode is for you. We're going to go through some specific areas of our classroom. I'm going to try to do this in 10 minutes or less, like we usually do in our episodes. All right, strategy number one here, when we're thinking of a more playful classroom, is having intentional centers. Sometimes we're given centers in our curriculum, and that's fine. We can still use those, but we want to be purposeful with our centers. We want kids to have choice. If you're not offering a choice within centers, I want you to strongly consider it. Now, the important thing to note here is having choice doesn't mean a free-for-all, because you as the teacher are deciding what their choices are. So anything that your students are allowed to choose should be acceptable, because that's what you've given as an option. So whether they choose A or B, that's fine, because both are an acceptable option. So consider adding choice in your centers. Another tip about centers is that I highly, highly recommend do not rotate your centers all at the same time. Like if you're trading out centers each week, I've been there, and it's exhausting with being like, oh my gosh, it's Friday. I need 6 new centers by Monday. Hurry up. And you're prepping these centers and trying to get all the materials out, and you're getting them all swapped out at the same time. It's exhausting, and it doesn't need to be that way, because then you have all those new centers that you have to teach them on Monday. When you rotate less of your centers, you have less new information for them to take in, and they can benefit from them longer. Module 2 in Play, if you are in the Play course with us this summer, Module 2 is all about free-flowing centers. So this is a complete module about ditching rotations and timers and moving toward more independence with students who are choosing their own centers independently. They're free-flowing in and out of them, but it is not a free-for-all, and you are working with more individuals and small groups. So check that out in the show notes if you are not registered yet and you're interested in making sure that you learn more about free-flowing centers. Okay, but jot those tips down that we just went through. Rewind if you need to about how to kind of get an immediate boost in the playful vibe of your centers. All right, strategy number 2 is we're going to think about our classroom design and how we can support it for play. Even if you don't have blocks and kitchens and toys, we can still, and I hope you have those things, but I know not all of us do, and it might not be supported everywhere. But either way, you can still make the layout of your room better for your students by making sure you have some defined zones in your room, having defined spaces like, oh, this is our circle time space where we enter in to the carpet, whether you're setting up the boundary with some shelves or a table, or this is the library area. You've heard me say this in probably some webinars or the play course, I try not to have the mullet of classroom designs where, you know how the mullet, they're like, it's business in the front and party in the back. Sometimes in kindergarten classrooms and early childhood classrooms, we end up with the business, the work is all in the middle, right? It's like our tables and we're working in the middle of the room and the fun is on the outskirts and we only go there occasionally. We want everything to be integrated together. We want to utilize every single bit of space and maximize that space for our students. There shouldn't be areas in the room that they're just hardly using except once a day. We want them to feel like the whole room is being used. And if that sounds hard, if you're like, wait, I need more on that, that is module 1 of the play course with our final session of the summer happening in July. So make sure check out the show notes for that as well. Strategy number 3 for getting more playful vibes into our classroom is teacher-led playful learning. Now, playful learning experiences at circle time cannot replace free play. Free play is so important for students. But again, we know that it's not helping us to be in this all or nothing mindset. So if you're in a situation where you're like, but we have all this whole group time and like I have to follow this rigid schedule, then what we're going to do here is we're going to look at the schedule that you have to follow, and if we have that time that we have to be doing XYZ, we're going to make XYZ as engaging as possible. So they're not going to be this sit and get learning. We're going to think, okay, how can I make this more playful? Songs, games, movement. So things like pocket chart games and chants. How can you take a topic that you're trying to teach or a skill that you know is on your list and it's on your curriculum and you have to do this? Is there a way to make it more interesting? Can you sing songs for it? Can you do a different center and activity for it, right? So you're still getting the same end result, but it's a lot more fun in the way that you're doing it. So if you're in the Print and Play Club, for example, you might be printing out question of the day and doing that in the pocket chart every day. You might be using the playlist songs, all right? You can find those in your dashboard as well. And if you're unsure of like, well, I need some more ideas, thekindergartenconnection.com, we'll make sure that we have in the show notes for you. Check out some of our pocket chart, our sing and seek games, things like that, that make that learning come to life and feel a little bit more fun. Okay, strategy number 4, as we wind this down, I'm looking at my timer. You know that I'm all about keeping this short and practical for you. Strategy number 4 is giving your students visual and predictable routines. When we have structure in our classroom, this actually supports students feeling safe and secure. It supports their independence and freedom because they need that structure. So if we're looking for this playful environment that also helps with classroom management, we need to set up this structure ahead of time. So I really recommend, if you don't already, having things like visual schedules. Show your students what's happening, what's coming up in the day. Where are you at in your day? What's coming up next? This can really help students know what to expect, and that can really minimize some disruptions and management struggles. Consider having center signs. If you are in the play course, you know our center signs that say like, this is the block center, here's what we're learning. Center signs are great for like open house or for admin. When people come in, they're not just seeing like, oh, this is the library. There's actually a list of here's what I'm learning when I'm in this center. It's really powerful for students to, yes, know where they're going in the room, but it's really powerful for outsiders, if you will, to see like, oh, I had no idea students learned all of these things in the art area. All right. And also consistent transitions are key. So when you're thinking of visual and predictable routines, visual schedule, center signs, but also think about your transitions when you're going from one place to the next. Write down the times that happens and think, okay, how can I practice this routine? We probably have a lot for you on routines. We'll put some things in the show notes as well to continue to help you develop those routines because they can make all the difference when it comes to classroom management. All right. If this quick episode kind of got your wheels turning and you're like, okay, I need to jot down these notes, I'm ready to implement these things, I'm ready for a playful classroom. If you're ready for help building that step-by-step, be sure to join us in the final round this summer of Playful Learning All Year. We'll drop that along with anything else in the show notes that is needed to help you out and to make the most of your summer as you get ready for back to school season. Happy teaching!